The brief commentary on Sura Al-Mumtahana. Interpretation of the one verse of Al-Mumtahana. It is reported that Ali Abu Talib said, "Once the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, sent me, Az Zubair and Al-Miqdad with the command, 'Go to Rad al-Haq. There you will find a woman in a palanquin who will have a letter, take it away from her.' We set off and drove the horses at full speed until we reached the place of Rad al-Haq. There we found a woman in a palanquin who was told, 'Get the letter.' She said, 'I don't have any letter.' We said, 'Get the letter, otherwise we will undress you.' Then she pulled it out of her hair and we delivered it to the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. It turned out that Katib Abu Balta sent him to the pagans in Mecca to inform them about some of the plans of the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. At that time he was preparing to march on Mecca. The Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, 'What is this, O Katib?' He said, 'Do not hasten to condemn me, O Messenger of Allah. I was one of the Quraysh, although I was not one of them. The Muhajirs who are with you have relatives in Mecca who protect their families and property, but I have no such relatives, and I decided to do them a favor so that they do not touch my loved ones. I didn't do it out of disbelief or because I decided to renounce my religion.' The Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, 'He told you the truth.' Umar said, 'O Messenger of Allah, let me cut off his head.' But he objected. He participated in the battle of Badr, and how do you know, maybe the great and mighty Allah looked at the participants in this battle and said, 'What do you want? I already forgave you.'" Amr Dinar, one of the narrators of the Hadith, said, "Then the verse was sent down, 'O you who believe, do not take my enemy and your enemy as your protector and helper.'" This Hadith was narrated by Ahmad, Al-Bukhari, Muslim, At-Tirmizi, Abu Dawud and others. Interpretation of the 5 verses of Al-Mumtahana. It is reported that Ibn Abbas said that the verses, "O you who believe, do not take my enemy and your enemy as your protector and helper. You open yourself to them with love, although they do not believe in the truth, until the words, 'Allah sees what you do,' were sent down regarding the letter in which Katib Abu Balta and those who were with him were going to warn the unbelieving Quraysh about the impending campaign to Mecca. That the words, 'Only Abraham told his father,' contain a prohibition on asking for forgiveness for the Gentiles and imitating Abraham in this, who asked for forgiveness for his father. And that the words, 'Our Lord, do not make us a temptation for those who do not believe' means, 'Do not punish us with their hands and do not send us torment from you, so that they cannot say, if these were on the straight path, then they would not have suffered such a fate.'" This hadith was narrated by Al-Hakim, calling it authentic according to the requirements of Al-Bukhari and Muslim, and Al-Dahabi agreed with this. The essence of this hadith was also transmitted by Al-Bukhari and Muslim. Interpretation of the 10th verse of Al-Mumtahana. It is narrated from the words of Urwa al-Zubair that Marwan and al-Maswar Maram said, "When an agreement was concluded between the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and Suhail Amr, he said, 'We set the condition that you will definitely return any of us to us who will come to you, even if he professes your religion, and you will not interfere in our affairs with him.' The Muslims did not like this condition, which was very painful for them, but Suhail did not agree to anything else. Then the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, accepted this condition and on the same day returned Abu Jandal to his father Suhail Amr. Whichever of the men did not come to the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, during this period, he would definitely return him to the Quraysh, even if he was a Muslim. Along with men, believing women also moved to the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. Among them was Kulthum, the adult daughter of Uqba Abu Mu'ayt. Her relatives came and demanded from the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, that he return her to them, but he refused to do this, and then the verse was sent down. O you who believe! When migrant believing women come to you, put them to the test. Allah knows better about their faith, to the words. And it is not allowed for them to marry them. Urwa also reported from the words of Aisha that the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, put them to the test on the basis of the verses, O you who believe! When migrant believing women come to you, then put them to the test, to the words, verily, Allah is forgiving, merciful. He said that Aisha said, if they accepted these conditions, then the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said to them, I took an oath from you. He did it in words, because, by Allah, during the oath, his hand never touched the hand of an outside woman, and he took the oath from them only in words. This hadith was reported by al-Bukhari. Messages similar to it were transmitted by Ahmad and others. Interpretation of the 12th verse of Al-Mumtahana. It is reported that Ibn Abbas said about the words of the Almighty, and disobey you in good deeds. This was a condition that Allah set only for women. This hadith was reported by al-Bukhari. What this condition was is reported in the following hadith narrated from the words of Amatiyah. After we swore allegiance to the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, he read the verse, to Allah, and forbade us to lament loudly for the dead. Then one woman removed her hand and said, but such and such lamented with me over my deceased, and I want to answer her in the same way. The Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, did not say anything to her, and then she left. And then returned, and he took the oath from her. This hadith was narrated by Ahmad, al-Bukhari, Muslim, an-Nasai and others. There are other posts about this as well. It is reported that Asad Abu Asad said from the words of one of the women who swore allegiance to the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. Among the good deeds in which we should not disobey him was that we should not beat ourselves on lamenting loudly, tearing your clothes and loosening your hair. This hadith was narrated by Abu Dawud. The oath of allegiance to the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, was taken by all Muslims. After his death, an oath of allegiance is taken to the rulers of the Muslim state. It is reported that Ubadah as-Samit said, once, when we were sitting near the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, he said, will you swear trust me that you will not associate partners with Allah, commit adultery, and steal? Then he read the verse about women and added, whoever among you is faithful to this, he will receive a reward from Allah. Whoever commits any of these sins and is punished for it, for him this punishment will become an expiation. And whoever commits any of them, and Allah will cover him, then his fate will depend on Allah. If he wishes, he will subject him to torment, and if not, then he will forgive him. This hadith was narrated by Ahmad, al-Bukhari, Muslim, at-Tirmizi, and an-Nasai. It is also reported that Janada Abu Umayyah said, when Ubadah as-Samit fell ill, we came to him and said, may Allah heal you. Tell us one of the hadiths that you heard from the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him by the will of Allah has done you good. Ubadah said, once the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, invited us to him, and we swore an oath to him. He ordered us to swear to him that we would obey the ruler in everything, whether we like it or not, whether it is difficult for us or not, even if he infringes on our rights. And that we will not litigate with him for power, unless we notice in him a clear disbelief, of which there is evidence from Allah. This hadith was reported by Al-Bukhari, Muslim, and others.